Okay, you are live. I love what they said that. So, hello, Barton. Welcome back.
Thank you. Just putting next week's in the calendar.
Okay. Yeah, he said if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist, no?
You're right. So right.
Yeah. I have to say I am not that good in that. Sometimes I say like I know I put it on and then I put it in a different calendar. So
No, I
I'm
have to.
getting better in that one. Trying
Hmm.
to.
Okay.
So
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just getting over of a beautiful flu that it was no COVID after three tests. I definitely not, but it was more similar to a bronchitis. So my voice yesterday was no answer the phone, please, because everybody was yes, sir. Like okay, no, sir. So thank you so much again for being with us today. I love this. For the beginning, I really love this law for the state of Florida that regulates the sales and purchase or ownership of certain properties to foreigner principals, persons, and entities. So I got a little phone calls for people that live here, and most of them people that does not live in United States. Usually, some of them not even on any of these seven countries, but it get a little confused when they have to register, where they have to register, and what happened if they were under contract after the July 1st or during the transition or the implementation of this law.
Hmm.
So, all yours, because I cannot talk and I cannot say anything. I just listen and go to the expert. So, you.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody is an expert on this topic anymore. For those of you who I don't know, I'm Bart Strock. I've been practicing law in Florida since 1979. Our practice, we're three attorney partners, SCZ Real Estate Law and Safety Title and Closings, and we practice exclusively real estate law and closing transactions, residential, commercial. And our main office is located in Weston. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, but as you understand, being in the Weston office and having a lot of clients from Doral, we deal with a lot of international clients, especially Venezuelans. But we pretty much touch every one of these countries we're going to talk about today. Um, so, effective July 1st, 2023,
Mhm.
um, a new law went into effect in Florida in Chapter 692, Part 3, which dealt with prohibiting sale of property to certain foreign individuals. It's very complex, it's very confusing, and may even violate the Fair Housing Act because it creates discrimination based upon national origin. But that's to be decided by a court, not by me, not by you.
No, for sure.
And who knows when that may happen.
Mhm.
Um, there's one case in Orlando that I'm aware of, and the only thing that got around to was a temporary restraining order, which the judge denied. I believe that may be up on appeal, but appeals could take years. No one's rushing it. So, what does this new law do? So, first of all, the law created seven countries of concern. And those countries are, and I always leave one out, those countries are the Syrian Arab Republic, Syria, the
Mhm.
Venezuelan regime of Nicolas Maduro. That's how the country is written. So if Nicolas Maduro was to drop dead tomorrow, some people would pray for it. Um, I don't know if Venezuela would be on the list or not.
Yeah,
Because
it's a little different to approach a country, but we assume it's Venezuela. So,
yeah, People's Republic of China, the Russian Federation, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, and the Republic of China. So the first six countries are treated one way, and then there's separate restrictions or additional restrictions on China, people from the People's Republic of China. So let's talk about who we're talking about. We are not talking about citizenship in any of these countries. Citizenship has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
What we're talking about is where you live or
Okay.
what companies you are associated with. Let me just bring up that definition so I could tell you. Okay, so it is a person who is domiciled in one of these foreign countries and is not a citizen or lawful permanent resident of the United States. That's the major category that we deal with. So, what is domiciled? Domiciled is a fancy word of art that means this is where I live and this is where I intend to live. So, we've spoken to clients who are Venezuelan citizens, which means nothing in this, but they've lived in Portugal for the past 6 years. And because that's where they work, that's where their business is. So they are not domiciled in Venezuela, one of the seven countries of concern. They live in Portugal and they intend to remain in Portugal. So I have no issue with those persons buying property and they don't have to register, which we'll talk about later.
Okay.
In another case, someone contacted me. I'm Cuban, but I live in Mexico. However, I have been in Cuba for the past 6 months visiting, and I really am not going back to Mexico for another 7 months. My advice was to register because you are on the borderline. You know, it's all fact driven about where you really live. And if you're away for 11 months and still in Cuba this year, you should register. Um, so each case is different. So it's where you're domiciled and you are not a citizen or lawful permanent resident of the United States. So I have another client who has an asylum application pending for 11 years. He lives here. He has a taxpayer ID number. He has a work permit, driver's license. You can't tell him apart from you and me, but he cannot buy a property because he's here in the United States without a
Status.
permanent residency and he's not a citizen. Asylum applications do not count. So he is still considered a resident, a domicile of Venezuela.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Now I can understand that part.
uh,
Yeah, it was totally confusing for me, but yeah,
yes.
I can understand.
It's
Okay.
not just because you're a Venezuelan, it's where you live.
Exactly.
So I've seen a couple of people, their business really hurt by this. So I have
Hmm.
one person who buys houses and flips them and now cannot buy another house. I
Okay.
have one realtor I work with who works exclusively with People's Republic of China clients who live there and invest money here in properties and rent them out. Her clients cannot buy any more properties. So this hurts her. Um, so,
It gets a little for us as a realtors that we are not we can not tell a person you cannot buy here because in fact we don't know where they can buy or not. We don't have that measure and we cannot go out and it's against what we do. So I have situation with a person that she doesn't feel comfortable right now, because she was under contract in June, and the contract closed after the law came, and she lives in Venezuela. So she's right now like a okay. She feels like what I have to register. I have my contract before, and I'm doing an investment. So does she have to sell the property now? Does she just register the property and keep it because the closing was after July 1st?
If you acquired the property before July 1st, acquired is not a contract. Acquired
Mhm.
is I got a deed. So if she hasn't registered, she is subject to $1,000 a day fine.
Okay. So, and that is after January 4th?
Well, she had to register by January 1st,
Okay.
um, but if she hasn't registered yet, she's
Mhm.
looking at $17,000 in potential fines.
Okay. Well,
Or does she want to sell the property and sort of disappear from
okay.
the records? I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't know how strongly this is going to be enforced. All I could tell you is what's in the statute.
Okay.
Okay, we have
So,
no history with this. We have no track record whatsoever. This is all brand new and different from any other place.
and because this is for the place you live, doesn't matter if you are, again, for another country. I have people from Portugal living in Venezuela that owns a LLC in United States and own property here for many years, and they register the property, but
Yes.
they already registered the property and everything.
Mhm.
And their problem was that I am from Portugal and I'm not from, like, here is the domicile where where you live, and the country where you live doesn't matter the nationality that you have.
Correct.
Okay. I,
So in addition, the most common prohibited person or entity deal with is the individual where they are domiciled. But it also, like you said, someone might have an LLC. Well, if a person who couldn't buy a property owns 5% or more of an LLC, then that LLC is prohibited from buying or must register for any property they had prior to July 1st. Um, and then all the rest of the prohibited people that can't buy property is um, a member of the political party, um, anything like that. So if the People's Republic of China came to you and said, "We, the government, want to buy a property, but we're going to use it as an embassy," that's the one exception.
oh, okay.
But I don't see that happening.
I believe they have already all the
Yeah.
consulates and embassies now.
Mhm.
So,
So if you're a member of the government, or you are the government, or you're in an entity that's registered in one of those countries, you're prohibited. Um, and yeah, that's or a political party from one of those countries, you're prohibited. Whether you're in the minority or the majority, whether you're the opposition or the ruling, you can't buy.
yeah, for any side. And for the part of the land, the agricultural land and non-agricultural land.
Okay, so the substantive part of the statute is divided into three separate statutes. There's the agricultural land, there's the military or critical infrastructure, whatever they may be, and then there's the People's Republic of China, which has their own statute.
Okay.
So let's talk about agricultural land. So this agricultural land statute, which is 692.202, applies to all 7 countries. Okay. It's not limited to the 6, it applies to all 7. There's just additional restrictions on China. So, what this talks about is that the foreign principal from one of these countries may not directly or indirectly own any interest in agricultural land after July 1st, 2023. Cannot acquire, does say or own. Okay? That's it. However, if they own the property before July 1st, 2023, then they could keep it so long as they register and don't have to sell it. All of the statutes have the provision in it. Okay, I'm from China and I gave someone a mortgage on agricultural property. And then in 2025, those people default on the mortgage and I foreclose on them and I wind up taking the property. Okay. So now I have acquired property after July 1st, 2023. So I have, if that happens in any one of these cases, if you acquire that property by operation of law in any way, you have 3 years to sell it.
3 years.
3 years. But you must register during those periods of time. Okay?
Okay.
So it's not like you forfeit your mortgage or anything like that. Let's say someone passes away and wills me the property. They have 3 years to divest themselves of that property.
Okay.
Okay?
And if for any reason they make a mistake and buy the property, the seller didn't know that he was in an area that they cannot sell, and the buyer was not understood the affidavit or whatever, and they buy the property. Let's see, next
We're
this.
checking every property. So there is I think it's secureflorida.com is the site,
Mm-hmm.
where you could check any property. If it's in agricultural land, or, whether it needs to be registered or not. The last time I was on there, I found a problem with it. In that, if it's a multifamily address, so a condominium, it's not able to search those.
Yeah.
So I don't know
I
what to do in
I
those.
have one client that says that they cannot tell me.
Right.
Like yeah, it's cannot. One it shows like you must register like this is on the
So what
sun.
do I do? I find a property next door that's a single unit and I
Okay,
search that. And if this one has to be registered, then that one has to be registered.
of course. Yeah,
Okay?
it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, so
literally,
we all found that quirk. My client was doing what he was looking up the names of bases and critical infrastructure and measuring them. What are you? So far, I have not found a property that doesn't have to be registered.
yeah, yeah. So far, yeah.
So
I
when
saw it.
in doubt, register.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had even one in Kissimmee that I didn't believe that it will be on the area, and it is. It's like a register.
Yeah. So the buyer has to provide an affidavit that they are in compliance with this. So you better check that property. Otherwise, not only are they committing a crime, they're committing another crime of perjury by signing an affidavit that says I'm in compliance. So they need to be checked. Um, so as a closing agent in our title company, I have no liability. You, the realtor, have no liability unless we actually knew.
Okay.
Okay. So if we knew, then we have problems. Okay.
I don't like drugs.
Um, so that's agricultural property. Now let's get to critical infrastructure. There are dozens of, it goes everywhere from a water treatment plant and an airport, a spaceport, um, a military installation. Military installation has to be of a certain size. So the National Guard Armory on State Road 84 and Southwest 4th Avenue is not big enough to be considered a military installation. But it's near other critical infrastructure, so it doesn't matter. It's close enough to Port Everglades that it would be covered by that anyway.
Yeah.
So, what's the law on military installations or critical infrastructures? The same entities or people are considered foreign persons. Okay, that doesn't change at all. So, what it says is that that a person from any of these countries who's domiciled, not a citizen in any of these countries, not a US citizen, not a permanent resident, no visa counts, only a green card, okay? And you are within 10 miles of a military installation or critical infrastructure. You can continue to own it, but you have to register and you can't buy any new ones, okay? Um, Same thing. Notwithstanding that, though, a foreign principal who is a natural person only, not an LLC, not a government, not a political party, may purchase one residential property up to 2 acres in size if all of the following apply. The parcel is not on or within 5 miles of a military installation, and the person has a current verified US visa that is not a tourist or travel visa, and they have official documentation confirming that they've been granted asylum. I don't
Okay.
think anybody's been granted asylum in 11 years. There's such a backlog. So that's not going to happen. Okay. Anyway, this visa has to authorize them to be legally present in the United States, and only the person with that name can buy it. So it's within, in that case, it's 5 miles from a military installation or 10 miles from, I'm sorry, it's 5 miles from military installation in the state or critical infrastructure. Okay. So,
So if a person or company comes here with an investment visa that depends on where they are coming, they have 3, 5, 10. Nope, cannot. Okay.
only the individual that has all those qualifications, which are very difficult, can buy one residential property.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is not apply for if the person come here to work with a working visa or an investment visa. They can rent.
They can
It's
rent.
purchase. Okay.
So there's another problem I have with the statute.
Mhm.
It says acquire an interest in real property. Well, to me, acquiring an interest in real property is also a lease. But nobody said anything about that, so I'm not going there. That was my initial thoughts. All these people have to move out into the street. They can't lease.
Yeah, definitely. Our state it's the one that take more people for immigrants to come to make business, and uh, for most of these countries, I'm not too much. I don't know too much about Cuba and Iran or the Middle East, but from China and Venezuela, Florida was the target to the investment properties. So And Miami, it's 3 hours in normal situation. It's 3 hours fly to go back and forth. So it's usually forever. So like I am living in this country 20 years, but I come into this country from the 80s, just to because it was close. Like where you are going? No, we are going to Miami. And at that time, I remember my father bought a property in Bonaventure, maybe on the 70s. It was a huge developer that went to Venezuela when the petrodollars to sell to Venezuelans. So Miami always was like the second home, basically, for Venezuelan people, and that is the reason it's so many everywhere. But Weston, Doral, some areas in Orlando are Lake Nona, some areas in Kissimmee are full Venezuelan because they were home.
Western
Um,
Whaler.
yeah, Westonzuela, Doralzuela. It's
Yeah.
not that names in Orlando. It's kind of difficult to put it on. It's easier here, but no, I have to say, I cannot say like no match. They literally no match. I think they did it on purpose. But yeah, it created a lot of confusion, and also it's kind of or to say like it is not open for investment anymore, or what will happen if they put more countries. And I know it's not just Florida. Another states in the United States are having the same regulations.
10 states have regulations like this.
Okay.
Canada has a law that went into effect last year that says a foreign person cannot buy any property, didn't distinguish between any country at all,
Okay.
cannot buy any property for 2 years. Canada put a moratorium on foreign ownership, but they had an economic reason, or so they say. Do we know really what they really mean? But in that case, the reason was is that prices were skyrocketing,
Mhm.
and a lot of United States citizens were buying properties there just in case they wanted to leave after the next presidential election or what was happening here. And these properties were sitting vacant.
Yeah.
So you have number one, properties being bid up just like we had here,
Mhm.
and it takes away available rental property. There's not enough property to go around for people to live. So that was the rationale in Canada.
Yeah.
I doubt, and I have no political opinions, but I doubt that that was the rationale behind this statute.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
at all. But then we have China, and the rules are the same, except the Chinese are not allowed to own any property in Florida, not within
Five, 10.
agricultural land or within 10 or 20 miles of military installations or critical infrastructure. And they're just totally banned unless they owned it prior to July 1st, 2023, at which point they could keep it and must register. And just like with the others, there is an exception that's, again, a natural person may purchase one residential real property up to 2 acres in size, so long as it is not within 5 miles of any military installation in this state. Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems a little stricter on the Chinese side. But
It's in the
that's the current favorite country to hate. Although, if you look at the news, it changes every day. So um, I
so
don't know. Is it politics? Is it economics? Is it safety and security? We
can
can
be
debate that all we want, but it doesn't change the law.
yeah.
And that's what we have to deal with. I don't deal with the political reasons for these. I just have to deal with that they are.
Yeah, definitely. I am more, I'm more attached for what means for my country, and I
Well,
understand.
this is your country.
This is my country, well, the place I came from, and I
Yeah.
have still having family there and friends, a lot of friends, and more of that friends are my clients too, because I represent them for the past 14 years here and in Orlando, and they were concerned mostly for the fact that they were forced to sell more than
No,
have to register, because they are,
nobody is forced to sell.
yeah. So
People who
that
have.
part I have very clear, and I said no, that's not the point. But
Mhm.
it feels so bad. They
It,
really
you know,
feel-
it's a tough situation, but we adapt.
yeah.
That's the good thing. First of all, they've created a lot more business for me in counseling people on how to deal with these things. Countless numbers have asked me to do the registration for them, which I don't do. I don't
Mhm.
want the liability, and most realtors I know do not register for them. It's simple enough. The only ones that are having a real problem are the People's Republic of China, because I've been told, and I don't know, that Chinese addresses where they live do not translate well to English addresses because the character.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Plus, mail would never reach them.
exactly.
But I have a feeling because you have to create a login, you have to register to even do the registration, and that goes with an email address. So I'm pretty sure that's where notifications will be sent by
Yeah.
email. Hmm.
For the people that were calling me and to do it, and at the end they say I receive an email. Okay, they go, well, so that's the proof that you have, and a number. They have
Hmm.
a number for the specific property, and they receive an email. And it's like, I have a number and an email. You just keep it safe, print
And
it.
don't forget now to do it next year.
Oh, they have to do every year?
I believe so. Let me see what the statute says.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Let me see. Nope, it doesn't say every year.
Yeah. So I know that for in my case, I don't, or as a realtor, I cannot put any limit on. I just refer to the real estate attorney to make visit and have a discussion of what they can do or cannot, or what is the situation right now.
My
And
job is to work with the realtors. I mean, I work with the individual clients too, but my partners and I have dedicated ourselves to helping realtors um, by
100,
actions like this, appearing with you and spreading the information. Um, and hopefully, realtors will then start referring people to us, let's be honest. Um, because, like next week, we're going to talk about why you need to work with a realtor and an attorney, not just one. And we'll talk about that next week. Why is that so important?
for me, it's a lifesaver. More
Hmm.
when I moved to South Florida, I have to say, it's a different animal. This beautiful part of the Florida. Oh, yeah, it is. And
I
if
get plenty calls from Orlando realtors too.
it is we will talk next week, but it's a when you move here, but it's lovely. So I appreciate your time, and it is for me. It's a this particular law open a lot of questions and a lot of more business for people that they don't know what to do, and keeping it calm that nothing major is happening. It's just a law,
Mhm.
basically what it is, and we will go through them. And one more question: let's see if the person didn't get the note, or living in another country, or well, they don't have internet, which is normal in some areas, and they don't know what to do, or nobody said that, and they come here one day and they try to sell, or they receive a note of foreclosure because they didn't register the property, and they have $1,000 daily fine. Um, they they would lose.
Call a lawyer.
If I call the lawyer, yeah, that's the point. Call the lawyer.
Whenever anything happens, call the lawyer. Okay. And most of them call their realtor first and ask the realtor to refer them to a good lawyer.
Oh no,
Um,
definitely.
mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Well, you are my attorney, so what can
Thank you.
I
I appreciate that.
say?
Next week, we're going to be on at 3 o'clock, correct?
Yes, at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So thank you so much for your time, and also be so extensive, explicit, and everything. I really love it, and open for me to understand more. Thank you so much, and I will see you here 3 p.m. on January the 24th.
Have a great day. Enjoy the week, everybody.
Done.